Yeah, cool. So I'll tell you a bit about what I'm up to. So I'm an LBS MBA 2013.
Yep.
I'm a qualified medical doctor and did the MBA because I wanted to have a bigger impact.
Yep.
So did the MBA, did a bit of consulting, realised that wasn't for me, discovered that I loved entrepreneurship. So I've come out the other end and I've worked on various projects and I'm still at the beginning of my entrepreneurial career really. But I'm working on patient self-check-in and emergency care to try
Okay.
and speed up queues through A&E, which are
Right.
horrendous at the moment.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and so, I wrote the book about my journey through LBS. And I realised through working with some book marketing guys at a company called Launch Team that the book is really about an entrepreneurial journey rather than about LBS. So
Right.
you might have noticed that it went through a title change, sent some emails out. It used to be called What They Teach You at London Business School,
Yep.
and it's been repositioned as the MBA Entrepreneur.
Right.
So really it's about my journey towards entrepreneurship, and then the second half of the book will be interviews with other MBA entrepreneurs because I
Okay.
don't know it all. I'm just at the beginning.
Yeah.
So
Right. Okay. I think I've got a soft copy of your book. I might have bought a. I think I ordered a hard copy and I got a soft copy with the hard copy to come. Is it still the case that it's on the print run or?
oh yeah, it's coming. So you should have had an email if you're one of the contributors to my Indiegogo campaign. You
Right.
should have had an update email recently, just a few days
Right.
ago.
Yeah. I probably just missed it.
And yeah, so basically the print run is delayed because I'm adjusting the book, but it will
Yeah.
happen and you will get the book.
Oh, brilliant. No, no,
I'll also,
I'm not chasing. I'm just, just curious. It's a good initiative.
yeah, cool. Thanks very much. And I'll
Excellent.
send you a copy of the new ebook as well as soon as it's finished.
Yeah, brilliant. No, I think the school could do with a little bit more publicity. It does a lot more and sends out a lot of good people, but doesn't always, I think, get the international recognition for all that. So good on you for doing it.
Yeah, cheers. And I think it might help put LBS on the map a little bit, or LBS entrepreneurship on the map.
Yeah,
It's funny because the school is such a high ranked school and it doesn't really have any brand recognition.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
really
yeah,
doesn't. I mean, places like Oxford or Cambridge, way lower down in the rankings, have a much higher brand recognition.
yeah, because of the wider university.
Right, of course.
Yeah,
And even we always get mistaken for LSE.
I think London Business School is well placed because where we work around in the east, sort of Moorgate, Old Street area. I mean, it's there's so many startup businesses and things, particularly in the tech space. London must be a hub in Europe for this kind of entrepreneurship, and the school closest school deserves that really. So,
Yeah.
or the closest reputable school. So I think it's they should be focusing more on it and getting some additional faculty. I wasn't blown away, I must say, with the entrepreneurship focused courses that I did whilst at LBS. I didn't do the summer school,
Yeah.
where it's I thought the finance faculty was particularly strong.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Anyway,
So I
that's a,
did. I was surprised at so I got quite a big response from the email. So I've interviewed I think 9 people already.
okay.
And there's way more than that. I think I got over 30 emails.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the depth of LBS entrepreneurship is there. I
yeah,
wasn't even aware that how deep it was,
yeah,
which is maybe
yeah.
my naivety. I don't know, but
Yeah, well, there's have you got the guys from my year of 2015 who are doing Pass the Keys?
what's they called?
It's called Pass the Keys. It's a Airbnb management company.
Oh right, no, I haven't heard of it.
Name's Alex. I'll prompt him to get in touch with you. But
Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
that's a that I mean, in many ways, I'm sure most of the businesses that you're speaking to are more interesting than what we're doing. But it's I'm happy to have a chat, notwithstanding that. I mean, we're just asset managers in a new asset class, really. So
Yeah,
we haven't invented anything or really gone through many of the struggles startup businesses have to go through.
Oh, that's interesting. So that's going to be an interesting interview point because I haven't interviewed anyone that said that so far. Um,
Yeah.
so maybe, yeah, tell me a little bit about your background and
Yeah.
and your current business, which is called. I had it open in my browser.
Balance legal capital.
Balance Legal Capital. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm Australian born. Was born in Sydney. Studied law at university, and then went into private practice. Was in Sydney for about 7 years as a lawyer there, and then moved to London, which is a pretty common move for Aussies generally, but particularly lawyers, because
Yeah.
the work over here is bigger, um, can be more interesting, certainly more fast paced. So I came over. I worked for a big firm in London called Freshfields for a couple of years before deciding that I wanted to see what was out there, I suppose, before committing to a life in private practice. So I enrolled in the MBA program. I started in 2013, finished in 2015. I went in with a really open mind. I thought, I'll just see, what it is that, tickles my interest.
Yep. Did you
So
do
I
the
served
exec program or the full time?
No, I did the full time.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I wanted to. That was deliberate because I wanted to give myself not only the classes and the people and great officers, but I also just wanted the time just to think about what I'd got up to, what I'd done to date, what I was good at, what I enjoyed, what I didn't, and so that there was the time as well as the content that was appealing to me about the full time program.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so pretty quickly I realised, you know what. After a few bad consult interviews and thinking about finance and that sort of thing, I concluded, I really like the legal sector. What I don't like about the legal sector is working in private practice, long hours on the timesheet.
Yeah.
There's heaps of opportunities, and it's a sector that's going through amazing change. So instead of doing a summer internship, I set up a small consultancy business and just went out and pitched to law firms that I knew, saying, I think here are 3 ways I think you could, pretty quickly and easily improve in these areas. Things like pricing on pitches for, mandates.
Yeah.
Using partners that in big firms have to retire at 56 to make room at the bottom for people to come through. Using them more flexibly. Anyway, so I picked up a project with Pinsent Masons originally, and then on the back of that, Allen and Overy got in touch, and another big firm, and I was doing that pretty steadily through, and then I just continued doing that part time whilst I was studying. Then wanted an exchange to New York and picked up another job over there. So this is sort of where I was heading. I was going to do consulting, but just for law firms. And then in my last term, I was actually on exchange at NYU at the time. I was introduced through a mate who was also a lawyer and a member of the MBA class to my now business partner, Rob Rothkopf. He was at Herbert Smith, another big law firm, and wanted to leave to do litigation funding. Now I'm a litigator by training, so is he. Anyway, he'd taken some leave without pay to have a look at this opportunity, and we started talking, and together we researched the market. I did the US bit, where there's a few funders. He did the UK bit, put together a business case, and critically, Rob had been put in touch with a UK family office that had invested in 2 one-off pieces of litigation, and they'd both gone really well. So they were actually keen to invest into a sort of a blind pool type arrangement with a team of experienced managers who would then deploy a commitment across a portfolio of litigation cases.
Yeah.
So just to explain what it is we exactly do.
So this is the business. This was the formation of the business.
This was the formation.
So you met your business partner at NYU.
No, I met him. I met him through a classmate at London Business School.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So this guy Patrick Fitzgerald. He was a lawyer at Herbert Smith and started in the same intake as Rob. And Rob spoke to him and said, look, this is what I'm doing. You want to have a chat? And Patrick said, yeah, happy to have a chat. I'm a corporate lawyer, though, as you know, but there's a guy at school with me, Simon, who's a litigator. Why don't I put the two of you in touch?
Yeah,
So
cool.
that was January 2015, and we worked for about 4 months on the proposition, and then we actually opened for business in July 2015.
Okay, brilliant.
So 5 months later, yeah.
Pretty speedy.
Yeah, and the critical pieces were the money. So we got a very sizable commitment in the tens of millions from a family office, and we had, with that commitment, we were able to get a really big name chairman. So Lord David Gold, who sits in the House of Lords, he was the ex head partner at Herbert Smith, and he'd retired, and we knew he had an interest in this. So Rob approached him, and he agreed to come on as chairman. So we had the start of a management team and a big name that we could use to set up meetings and announce our arrival. And the reason that I say that the softer landing into entrepreneurship than others was because obviously there was some months of planning and that's unpaid, but the moment we had our commitment from this UK family office, the structure was the traditional sort of 2 and 20 model. So we draw a management fee each year, which allows us to pay ourselves, fairly modest salaries compared to what you'd get back in private practice, but also hire a team. We're now a team of 5 in the day-to-day management team, and we've got my old boss from Freshfields, Ian Terry, on the committee. So, and everyone's compensated for their time and efforts. So it's a lucky, it's a soft landing compared to, you're creating a new digital platform or product or something where you can probably go for years, I imagine, without making any meaningful money.
Yeah. So we'll come back to that just later on in the interview. I want to explore that a bit more because that's the polar opposite of everyone else I've spoken to.
Yeah.
So good for you. So, what?
There's one other critical bit I should mention, and that is that the regulations changed in 2013, which made this more attractive to a lot of the law firms that we work with. So, a big part of the fact that we were able to raise money and that we were able to get quite attractive terms as a manager was because this is a hot area. It still is a hot area, and the competition's quite low. So that really assisted in our early months. There was barely anyone that would turn down a meeting because everyone was very interested in what litigation finance is and how it works. So we had a big advantage in that our timing for this was right.
Okay, interesting.
As well as the money and the people.
So you weren't necessarily the first with an original idea.
No.
But the regulation changed that opened up a new market effectively.
The regulation changed to allow solicitors to share in the risk of their clients' matters. So prior to 2013, it was really limited in what you could do as a solicitor other than just charge hourly rates. What the regulation change did was said to solicitors, you know what, if you want to discount your fees by 25, 50%, even 100%, and then take a success fee or an uplift at the back end once you get a good result for your client, then that's perfectly fine, right? And we can support lawyers in doing that. So lawyers can say to their clients, look, we won't charge you anything to run this matter, and that's quite a compelling proposition, obviously. They can then say, they can agree a success fee with their client. They can then come to us and say, we're not comfortable taking 100% risk on this matter. Do you want to, reduce our risk by contributing some cash? So all those types of arrangements are now possible. So law firms started thinking seriously, or litigation departments started thinking seriously around that time about how they work with litigation funders, what sort of innovative fee arrangements they should be making with their litigation clients.
Yeah, I think you've played it down a bit. I think there's probably quite a lot of innovation in the way you've delivered the service. I'm guessing.
I think I don't think we've done anything new. I think we've probably the way that we've approached things is to that point in the market, there were a lot of ex-insurance types, kind of more sort of street savvy, rough and dirty, rough and tumble type litigators that had quite a bad reputation for litigation.
They're like solo operators almost.
Yeah, and also just not people from really big firms, really well respected firms like Freshfields and Herbert Smith weren't going into litigation funding because it was just seen as a little bit sort of grubby, right?
Is that because there's a perceived conflict of interest or something, or what's the reason there?
It's just that there's a concept in law that you're probably familiar with, which is no win, no fee.
Yeah.
And traditionally, that's been the lawyers that have followed ambulances to the hospital.
Right. That's why I'm familiar with it.
Exactly. So that's the kind of misconception. Whereas what we do. Is we are like an investment bank for law firms and their clients. We only deal with sophisticated commercial clients who don't want to take the financial risk of litigation. Often they've got plenty of money to pursue a case, but they'd rather us put up the £1-2 million, right? And then they're happy to pay us a return. But from the moment they sign an agreement with us, right, for the purposes of their accounts, they can completely ignore the financial implications of the litigation. All they're doing is giving up a proportion of a possible award sometime in the future.
Yeah, I mean that's a great arrangement because they can deploy that £1 or £2 million elsewhere in the business.
Exactly. So yeah, I think it was someone like Lord Gold, who at his height in 2005, 2010 was probably the premier litigator in the city. And then Ian Terry, who led Freshfields, one of the most successful firms in the world. Having those guys involved was something that I think was a bit novel because the funders that had done it up until that point didn't have people of that sort of stature on their committees. It's changed now, so there's other people, well respected people that have joined funders and. Don't be misled. We still are a startup business in that, compared to our competitors that are managing 300-400 million sterling, right? We are a small fund relatively. So we still have a long way before we get to their level. But, we were able to come in quite successfully because of, I think, of the people that we had involved.
Okay, brilliant. So you're obviously generating revenue at this stage right now.
We're not actually.
Oh, you're not yet.
So we've done we've deployed capital in our first sort of round of investments. So because we're not putting out £50,000 here, £100,000 there either. But we're looking for opportunities case opportunities that ideally require us to deploy something between £500,000 sterling and £3 million sterling. So these are opportunities that we have to work hard to find, identify, diligence the hell out of, and then to an arrangement. So if we're doing a deal every other month at the moment, that's quite a good burn rate for us. Whereas there's others that are operating at the lower end of the market, and they'd be looking to do kind of 10 deals a month at the lower level.
Okay.
With that, the flip side of that is when you invest in a complex commercial case,
it takes time.
A couple of million. It's going to take a minimum of 2 years, probably more like 3 or 4 years before it gets to court and is resolved either by adjudication or settlement is ideal for us. We like to see pre-court settlements because then we're off risk. That's the best scenario. That they generally don't happen until you're about to go to trial. That's when kind of the rubber hits the road,
Yeah, and then the individuals or the businesses involved just freak out and say, "Oh, never mind."
Exactly. And I think a big part of, just going back to the people, a big part of what we're trying to do, and it has varied success, to be honest, is say, what, our primary function is to provide you money and to, de-risk you financially of the litigation. But also, because we're such an experienced team, we can also be another point of advice or another view on quite a complex issue. So, smart lawyers and smart clients who work with us will actually access that knowledge, not so much the day-to-day team.
Yeah.
So the views of our senior guys.
So there's almost a bit of consultancy in there, or like a high touch service.
Exactly. I mean, we're monitoring the case anyway on a month-to-month basis. So if we have views, we may as well share them. It could just add something. I mean, an important thing to remember is we can't take control of the case. The regulations are very clear. It's the client that retains control of the case. All we're doing is paying the monthly bills, and we can, offer an opinion. But we can't say to the client, you must settle this case, or you must abandon this case, or you must not settle this case. The decision remains with them. It's an entitlement to a return out of any recovery.
All right, so it is really centered on providing capital rather than legal expertise.
Absolutely. We don't run the cases. The lawyers remain in place. All we do is we see. So our role as managers is we're out there all the time meeting with lawyers, trying to originate case opportunities, but they stay with the lawyers. We just look at them, work them up into a memorandum, make a decision to invest, and from that point, the bill gets prepared by the law firm for the work that month. It's addressed to the client, but it's copied to us. We get a report on what's happened in that month. We settle the bill, and that's how it goes. So,
all right, okay.
Our function is origination, due diligence, and then monitoring. We don't actually do the legal work.
Got it. So, in order to grow, then, just to get my head around this, if it takes you maybe 3 or 4 years to generate revenue from a single case, in order for you to grow at this stage, what you need to do is either get more investment in your fund to deploy capital onto more, or find more, if you have enough capital, find more cases to invest in.
Yeah.
So that's what you're doing at the moment, is it?
Yeah. So we would hope that our first few cases go to trial early next year. So we would hope that by sort of towards the end of this year, there's some settlement discussions.
Yeah.
We also have a couple of opportunities that we may invest in that are due to go to trial this year. So we would hope that in 2017, we have a couple of results, a couple of recoveries that result in revenue to us. But at the moment, our business's revenue is solely the management fee that's paid annually.
Okay, brilliant. Fine. So that's quite a novel startup structure, if you could call it a startup even. But I guess it is a startup. It's a great way.
It's a startup. We're untested, and we're running on. When we go to market for more money, it's likely that we might have 1 or 2 results. But the idea is to go back to the market for more money this year. We've got a single investor at the moment who'll be keen to go again, I think. But we actually want to be a fund that has multiple investor base. First to raise more money, and second to move into a new stage of maturity. So we'll do that. But unlike a fund with various vintages that can be sort of cut and analysed and talked to, we'll probably have maybe 1 or 2, if we're lucky, positive results. Hopefully, hopefully no losses. But we will rely on in terms of the big investments that we've made, we will rely on our ability to show that we invested at point A, we're now at point D or whatever, and that investment's improved. So you could actually say it's now of a higher value. Whether that's because a settlement offer's been received and rejected, or materials come out in the process of document exchange that supports the case rather than the other way. So that's what we'll be relying on. And the other important macro factor that helps us and hopefully will help us grow a bigger fund this year is that our investments are completely uncorrelated. So the economy can do whatever it wants to do, providing the defendants don't go broke in that process and therefore can't pay any against any judgment made against them. the court goes about its work in the way it always does, which is measure loss suffered and try and
Oh
change
yeah.
it. So our returns won't be affected by a recession or a hit unless we're picking defendants that go broke because of that. But most of our defendants are, big companies or banks or governments. So
Yeah.
we'd hope that wasn't a risk.
So it's more about due diligence on the individual cases that you invest in.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So just to fire through a few more questions, do you think an MBA's helped you on this journey? I would imagine it has, coming from a purely litigation background, but if so, how did it help you?
Absolutely. So I think we could have not done the MBA. I certainly sort of have 90% of the skills to do what I'm doing now, because still most of the work is in the litigation realm, talking to partners about cases, analysing cases. But the MBA has been extremely helpful in understanding funds management, in understanding what investors would look for in managers, how to put together a deck of slides that hit the right notes. I was completely financially illiterate before the MBA. I'd never seen a discount cash flow analysis or I couldn't have calculated an IRR of anything, right? But that having that training and now sort of putting it into practice, you're not as good as someone who's been in finance all your life, but you're literate, and that's the sort of level of competence that I need, and it's been helpful for the business, I think, to have one person, because we're an all-lawyer team at the moment. So we've got a guy who's a experienced finance guy who consults to us, but he's not in the office every day, because we've got one investor who's pretty easy to manage. So we actually don't need a full-time CFO at the moment. When we have multiple investors, we will. But it's been helpful that I just have I have sort of a foot in that world, so I can at least identify when we have a problem and when we need to get some advice. But there's also other more direct applications. So I wrote an article for a legal magazine last month, which has got good feedback, which was on using decision trees in litigation. Do you remember decision trees from the data models and decisions course?
Data modelling, yeah.
Lo and behold, I'd never seen those in private practice, but it turns out they've got a great application for the types of analysis that we do. So
brilliant.
There's another good example.
It shows that you can go into any sort of esoteric, complex field and use some of the models that you learned in an MBA and really simplify things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, brilliant. And could you have achieved where you are now without an MBA?
So I just missed that last bit, Garrett.
Could you have gotten to where you are right now without the MBA if you hadn't done it at all?
Look, at a stretch, in terms of skills and contacts, probably. But there's, the thing about my story is there's no way I would have ended here, I think, without the London Business School experience. My business partner, current business partner, and the guy I was introduced to was through a London Business School connection. I probably wouldn't have landed here without the time to think of what it was I wanted to do. I was just so busy in my old job that I didn't have time to scrap myself, let alone, plan an alternative career path. So, could I do this at a stretch? Probably, but the London Business School is a critical part of the piece, of the journey, I suppose.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I suppose when you're in your full-time job, you don't really think about the marketing aspects of what your employer's doing and those sorts of issues.
Yeah.
What was the biggest? This is really interesting because you've had quite a smooth ride, and that is the opposite of nearly everyone else I've interviewed. What have you come across? Any challenges? What was the biggest challenge you came across?
So it's still a challenge for us to find good investment opportunities.
Right. Okay.
We've looked at don't put this in your book, but we've looked at over 180 cases and only invested in 4.
Okay. Edited it.
that
I'll
won't be good
edit
for
this
business.
piece out.
So and part of that's just a lot of the stuff that's thrown at you is crap because
Yeah.
why doesn't the company want to pay for it? Because it's a bad case, right? So that's factor two. Is when you're starting out, you're more conservative than you will be ultimately once you level out. So that's factor two. And three is, as a bunch of lawyers that have only ever practiced in private practice, to come out and do something in a different space, naturally there's a bit of trepidation and, you make some mistakes. So for those reasons, it took us best part of 16 months to invest in our first case, and it's got easier since then. But that's been the challenge. But personally, we've been very lucky in that we've had we've been paid for our time. That said, we are still taking a lot of risk because our investor and our own strategy requires that Rob and I and now our third partner Ollie plus our committee invest quite significant amounts of money for each of us into the fund. So we're sitting alongside the investor with, I suppose, skin in the game, and the decisions we make affect us as well. And they're meaningful amounts of money. I'm talking, six figures, not 5 figures. So there is some risk. It's just not the sort of classic startup risk where you're working unpaid for.
So it's a bit finding the cases that are suitable to invest in. I guess to put it in entrepreneurial lingo is like customer acquisition, but you've almost got a customer acquisition problem in reverse. You don't want huge volumes of customers. You just want a very small number of really good customers.
Exactly, and it's finding the quality, and that's a challenge. Anyone can set up, and the funny thing is this is sort of a bit runs against what you learn at London Business School. Well, maybe it doesn't, because we're dealing with conservative lawyers, right? They're not on LinkedIn for the most. Well, they are on LinkedIn, but they're not engaged with LinkedIn.
Right.
The way that we identify quality opportunities still has to be most of the time going and actually sitting in a room, a conference room at a law firm, right, and sitting down with a partner and saying, what is your practice? What are your clients like? This is what we do. Perhaps we can help this. So it's a very personal, type of marketing.
Yeah.
You build those relationships, then what you hope is when the next case comes in and hits this partner's desk, she picks up the phone and calls you.
It's really a selling relationship, isn't it?
It is.
And doctors, it's funny how lawyers and doctors are like that. Doctors don't engage with LinkedIn either. Doctors don't really network very effectively, which I find just amazing, having gone through the MBA program, to apply that lens to it. It's like, it's crazy because you're leaving so much out of the picture. Yeah.
That reminds me actually of a friend of ours. So have you ever heard of a company called MedRecruit?
Yes.
So it's run by a friend of ours, Sam Hazeldine, who's a Kiwi guy. He's done extremely well out of it.
Right.
He's won entrepreneurship awards, written books, all sorts of things. But anyway, he was a doctor and decided that he wanted to do something in medicine, but not practice. And so he set up this company which basically places doctors from this part of the world in hospitals in Australia and New Zealand. And he's bolted onto that since then a wealth management arm for doctors, a couple of other a welfare sort of arm. It's quite impressive what he's done. It's really, really impressive. It just reminded me when you mentioned.
Cool. Yeah, I'll check him out in a bit more detail. And what's your biggest success moment? Is the final question before I tell you a bit about what I'm going to do with the interview, etc. But yeah, what's the biggest success so far?
I think getting our first case investment completed and signed off was a great moment. getting the second member of our investment committee, Ian Terry, on board was a great moment.
Remind me who he was again. Was that
So
the?
Ian Terry was my boss at Freshfields, and he led Freshfields for 6 odd years. So
So he's a very senior guy with a lot of experience.
Very senior guy, and Freshfields is probably it's certainly on any measure one of the best firms in the world. So to get his sort of gravitas and judgment and experience in was quite satisfying.
Brilliant.
Also, I think just getting a bit more organised. So at the beginning we were just flat out trying to meet people, and but now we've got a sort of a publishing or social media type machine that ticks away, announcing when we're speaking at conferences, publishing blog posts.
Oh yeah.
That ticks along. We've got an office manager that does all that, and it feels like we're building education into the model and recording things better, and taking just like a group of people that are able to identify a few opportunities and put some money to work, actually making turning that into a business with processes and value that goes over and beyond the people that are. So that's quite satisfying.
Cool. So it's like daily small successes as well. The smaller
daily
stuff.
Small successes. Yeah, the big one that'll be great is obviously when we back a case and it settles and we make a return, or we win a trial and it makes a return. So that will be the big one. But we're pretty focused just on putting the money to work at the moment. We're not expecting that anytime soon.
Cool, fantastic. So I think that's the time up. Thanks very much. That a great interview and really quite different to some of the others.
No worries. I'm pleased to be able to help out, and good on you for putting this together. It's I'm very proud of the school. I go back whenever I can, including last weekend for the recent alumni event, and it's great that you're publishing this book, because I think it'll do a lot for the profile of the place.
Ah, cool, fantastic. So the way it's going to work, I'm going to take this recording, make a transcript, and then it will be edited, obviously take out any commercially sensitive information.
Yep.
I'll show you what is going to be published in the book before it goes into the book.
Okay.
Would you perhaps be happy for an edited version of this interview to go out as an audio podcast as well? That would be to a private audience, to people who read the book and then connect through online to community.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and again, I don't know what that's going to look like yet if we're going to do it. I'm just conscious that there might be loads and loads of interviews that could be quite useful for people.
Yeah.
Would you possibly be willing to have a follow-up interview at some point in the future as well?
Yeah, that's fine. Just drop me an email.
Awesome, brilliant. And the final request is, I mentioned the company launch team that I'm working with to market the book. I'm actually going to build a launch team, and they're going to help me do that. And what it is just a bunch of individuals who will help me spread the message for the book pre-publication and then post-publication to really try and ramp up awareness.
Yep.
So that I think it involves just social media messages, maybe write an Amazon review if I give you a copy of the book.
Yeah.
Simple stuff like that, nothing too heavy.
Yeah.
That would be brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that plugged in on Facebook and stuff, but I'm happy to make a note on the Amazon site.
Yeah, cool.
I'll help where I can.
Maybe even a tweet from the company. I don't know, whatever works for you, whatever works for us.
That would work. We're not big on Twitter, but we would certainly. We've got a subscriber base of about 8,000 lawyers and people in the legal industry. Not squarely your target market. Certainly blast an update out to them that we're featured in a book.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, thanks very much. And thanks again for the interview.
No worries. Best of luck and everything.
Best of luck going forward. Keep me updated.
Will do. See you later.
Cool. See you later, Simon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.